Hello, everyone. Today I want to share with you my experience with parking sensor systems. Parking sensor systems. I want to share with you what I've experienced with this and my knowledge and what I've learned, and I think you will benefit. So, welcome to my dining room table, my computer desk, and my workbench. It's an all-in-one. So I wanted to have parking sensors installed on my wife's vehicle on the front and back side. And the first one I purchased, well, actually I purchased a total of 4, but the first one was this one from a company called Rostra. They are considered the best. And I wanted to see what all the fuss was about. And so, look here, there's 3 more, and these are cheaper ones, off brand, junk by the opinions of many people. So, this one here, they don't even have a name brand, they just get right to the point. Parking sensor system. And this one here, let's see, let's go back here. They call themselves, well, car distance detection system, but I guess not really a name brand, just right to the point. I'm going to put this right back there. And then you have this one here, and let's see what they call themselves. Well, I'll go right to the instructions. Sandintune or Sandatown, however you want to pronounce it. Well, what I wanted to do is a side-by-side comparison. So these 3 units are basically in the $20 range. And I think that one was $15. So I did a side-by-side comparison. And the first thing I noticed, here are the actual sensors, all of them. Here's a couple of white ones. Here's the cheapest one. Exactly the same. The connector, here's the connector, a 2-pin connector. Not a single thing different. And then here, these parking sensors, they give you an audio and visual alarm. So that one little hole there, that's the little speaker. You can, this screen here gives you the visual as you're getting closer to an object. Here you can change it to audio or visual. And so to make a long story short, they're practically all identical. So this one here is designed for 4 sensors. So if someone wanted simply 4 sensors, they would put them in the back. And this is an 8 sensor unit. And so you see right here, there's a slot for 8 sensors. See this little one here, this little bigger one here, that would be for your speaker, audio visual monitoring. And this was an 8 sensor unit, and that one's empty. So that's actually in the vehicle. And then it was this one. And the only difference I saw, I think I compared it to this one right here. See how this one has nothing on it, really? I mean, but if I recall correctly, Rostra put their name right there. But everything else, it was exactly the same. And so that was, one of the reasons I returned it. And there was another little mix-up because it was advertised as a front and rear sensor set. And when I got it, it was only 4. 2 for the front, 2 for the rear. Where I've never seen that setup before. It's usually 4 on the rear at the minimum and 4 on the front. That's usually an addition that some people want, but not as often as simply putting 4 on the rear. So, why does Rostra have such an amazing reputation? If what they're selling, it's literally shaped like this. I mean, unless my memory is failing me, which it does sometimes, they just put their name right there. And it had the same thing here. There's your power monitor. It has your letters A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. I'll explain that later on. Here we are at Rostra's website, Rostra Accessories. Nice looking website, nothing unique there. And you can purchase the set I had on their website. See, I'll scroll down and let's see. Parking, scroll down, and this is right there what I bought. And if you look, you see the little black spots. That's what it is. Paintable, rear facing, ultrasonic parking sensors. Provide an audio-visual warning of objects at the rear of the vehicle when the vehicle is shifted into reverse. So, for anyone who is not quite familiar with parking sensors, here are some good images. And this is in a depiction of someone backing into a space. As they're getting closer, they're hearing the beep, and the beep enhances, or it beeps quicker as they get closer to potential impact. And here's a good image of someone parallel parking in the city. And there you go. And it just avoids someone from having impact in a parking lot area. And here's a picture of what the kit looks like. There you go. And this one is a 4 sensor kit. That's what the display looks like. And again, you can choose between visual and audio. And there's the unit itself, the little kind of rectangular shaped unit. There you go. Here is a picture of an SUV. I pulled up this image because this is similar to what my wife drives. And you can kind of barely see the rear bumper, but they would go across evenly. And I will kind of come down to here. And this is a good diagram of where they would be placed. 1, 2, 3, 4 gives you the measurement. And the unit itself would be placed right in there. You'd pop off this panel. It just folds out, but you have to lift this up. Well, first you take off the rubber seal, kind of not all the way around, but enough to where this little piece here pops up. And then this, you just need to pull it out a little bit to have access to this. You have a reverse light and a brake light, because to install this, you will need to eventually tap in to the wire for the brake light and the reverse light. A good thing to purchase for this project would be some T-tap connectors. T-tap connectors. And if you see the wire that's running sort of right there, that would be the brake line and the reverse light line. And then the wire running this way would be coming from the unit. So it's kind of obvious why they call it a T-tap connector. Another tool that would come in handy if you decide to do this job yourself and have the ability is the non-contact voltage detector. This costs $10, and this allows you to find the hot wire on your brake light and reverse light. And you'd simply touch it. Let me get the wire here. Let's use the yellow one. So imagine I want to find out if there's electricity going through this yellow wire. I would simply touch it like that, then the end would light up. But there's no electricity, so the end is not lighting up. And they call it non-contact because I'm not actually making contact with the wire. Instead, I'm making contact with the material that insulates the wire. So again, non-contact voltage detector, $10. You can walk into Walmart and buy this. Another thing I want to show, these are two sensors, and you notice the difference, the amount of wire. So if a person wanted 4 rear sensors only, you would put this one on the back because the unit, that's the unit, it would be in the back, so you don't need as much wire. But if a person wanted to put sensors on the front, well, they need more wire. So see how there's clearly more wire. So 4 of these would be on the front, 4 of these would be on the back because it's closest to the sensor. Now I'm going to return back to the original question. Why does Rostra have such a good name and everyone recommends them? I don't know. They're all made in China, and look at the instructions on this one. How tiny they are, but these actually are good, pretty good instructions. This is all you need. Here, if you get close, you see on the back of the car, you see A, A1, B2, C3, D4. You only need the letters for reference. Then on the front, you see E5, F6, G7, H8. So this tells you where that sensor needs to be connected. So if you look here, you see A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, and then the monitor. And then gives you a little bit of a wiring diagram. So 6 to 8 sensors. So if you had a 4-pin wiring system, this one is a 3-pin. This one is a 2-pin, meaning only 2 wires, just one black, one red. So this one was a 2-pin, still is. This one was a 3-pin, meaning 3 wires. This one was a 4-pin connector. And the Rostra, I'm pretty sure I think it was a 3. Yeah, it would make sense that it was a 3 to have, because even though their kit had 4, they expected their customers to put 2 in the back, 2 in the front. So that would require 3 wires. Now, the drawback of ordering a product from China is you get poor instructions. Like, for example, the instructions for this, even though this was an 8 sensor unit, the instructions only show someone how to connect a 4 sensor unit. So these instructions were improperly placed in here. Parking sensor system. And if you read through here, you'll find grammatical errors, but they're not that bad. You can still get the gist of what they're trying to communicate. So if we look here, see if I get my camera, the obstruction image will be shown via the camera with the change of alarm. Sound, detect the safe area correctly. It is best choice for the safe of your car. Sensors itself accompany the function to detect faulty sensors if abnormal situation happen. So minor grammatical errors, but I can understand what they're trying to communicate. And like these instructions aren't that bad. I mean, not much larger than a driver's license. Put that in my wallet. And with these instructions, now this one was meant to be sold in a Spanish-speaking part of the world. Sensor de estacionamiento. And then you come here. And if you look closely, that's all Spanish. And as far as I know. But you look at their instructions, you got the first line, Spanish. Maybe that's Italian. And that's all they get in their language. Everything else is in English. But they get a good diagram. You turn it over. Again, the attentions. And you scroll down and, not scroll down, but go down and you get a good wiring diagram. Sensor A, B, C, D. And then on the unit itself, you have A, B, C, D, display power. Natella. Sounds like the name of someone's daughter. So this really isn't that bad. Black ground and red to reverse light. Again, here's Rostra's website. So let's go. I purchased the unit off of eBay, and this is the image of their product. And if you look here, you can see it isn't perfectly aligned. It's a little bit off, but it works. And that's the bottom line. But I purchased this Rostra off of eBay. So you have the option, you could buy it on their website or eBay. I could not find it on Amazon. But Amazon has a very strict policy on selling. That could be why. So let's do some research on Rostra. Okay, who is Rostra? Rostra primarily imports from the following companies in China. Okay, you have a few of them listed: Tianjin, Cassie Electronic. I think they meant to call it electronic, but you never know. And then Multi Parts Supply China Company Limited. Also mentioned as a supplier. These companies are significant suppliers for Rostra in its import activities. So they're just simply buying products from China and repackaging it, because it did come in a nice box. And when I dialed their number, someone picked up and they were able to answer questions, which is more than these other products. There's no one you can call. So that's something they're offering. And their instructions are good. Obviously, it's prepared by someone who speaks English as their primary language. So, but the point is, nothing wrong with selling something and then, or buying something rather, and selling at a higher cost. Nothing wrong with it. But I'm trying to figure out what makes them so great. Right here, they're importing. So this last company here is the Multi-Parts Supply China Company Limited. Let's see here. Let's go here. So Multi-Parts Supply China Company Limited, they're based in Shanghai, big city in China. So again, there's nothing wrong. I just still can't figure out what makes Rostra so great. I just don't know it. And because of my current physical situation, I have a pretty bad shoulder injury, and I had to go find someone who can professionally install this product for me. Again, I wanted 4 parking sensors on the rear, 4 on the front. So I found this company that was highly recommended. I was told they were the best in the area. So I went over there and I walked in with my own pre-purchased product. And they said, okay, yep, come back here at this time. We'll get it done. And dropped it off, picked it up at the end of the day. And physically, they did an excellent job of having to, of installing it. I don't think it's something I could have done. And because they had to actually remove the front and rear bumper in order to get these sensors in. And I believe them, because I looked under there and there's really no access. I mean, so yeah, and I have seen YouTube videos where people had to remove the rear bumper. And I have also seen some where they didn't have to remove the rear bumper. They just simply drilled 4 holes. This is a hole saw here they provide. And it drills out a perfectly sized hole. And then this sensor just pushes in. And one thing on the back of the sensor, it tells you what side has to be up. So it's clearly marked on the back. You can't just put it in any direction. It has to be perfectly up. But that's very easy. But I saw one video where the guy drilled a hole and he fished this line through the hole and was able to pull it up to where the line needed to be. And then he just simply pushed this into the hole across the rear bumper. So again, I returned at the end of the day, picked up the car. It looked great. And it was a little more than the quote and that they gave me, and they explained why it was more than what they quoted me. They said we had to remove the front and rear bumper. I said, there's no problem. It looks beautiful. So I left, and within a few minutes, I realized that the rear sensors worked, but the front sensors did not work. And I thought, And then when I got home and I pulled up into the driveway all the way up to the wall, it didn't make a noise. And then, but when I put it in reverse and backed near something, it would make noise. And the noise would enhance as I got closer to the object. But front ones didn't work. So now, the next day, I went back. I said, hey, rear works great. Front doesn't work at all. Nothing. And they said, well, you bought a cheap product, and that's why. Had you purchased a Rostra, there wouldn't have been that issue. And I explained that, well, to be fair, all of these are made in China. And, and he says, he claimed that, he said, well, it's possible Rostra opens it up and improves on what the Chinese manufacturers have done. Okay, it's possible, but I doubt it. What I think, they're just purchasing it, putting it into a nice box, and then selling it. And there's nothing wrong with that. But again, the topic of this video is what makes them so great? Why? You go on forums and people say Rostra, but I'm just not seeing it. So basically the installer he clearly did not want me in his shop anymore, so I politely left. And then I started figuring out, what could this person have done wrong? I'm not convinced there's anything wrong with the unit, just because it doesn't have a nice sounding name. And so I did research. Welcome to class. This is what my research has put together. So, back driver side of vehicle is where we want the unit mounted. In a previous picture, I showed you the inside cargo area of an SUV, and you pull out the panel and you put the unit somewhere in there. And the back of the vehicle, you have 2 brake lights, and then you have 2 reverse lights. Now each one of these lights has a black, a negative wire, and then each one of these lights, now we're talking about the driver's side, has a positive wire, a hot wire. So that hot wire we want to identify. That's when this thing comes in handy. And then let's get back to the wiring. So this wiring has 2 wires, 2 pins, 2 wires, black and a red. This one here has 3 wires, okay, black, red, yellow. And this one had 4 wires. It was a black, red, yellow, and there was a blue. Now on another model that I saw, a 4-pin connector had the black, yellow, red, and there was a white. So blue, white, doesn't matter as long as connected correctly. Okay, so let's imagine you purchase a unit with 4 sensors, 2-wire connection. The 2 wires, red and black, like this. The black is always ground. Then this red line taps into the positive reverse light wire. This way, when the vehicle is running and you put the vehicle in reverse, the positive reverse light wire is hot and the sensors receive power and therefore function. That is how a unit with 4 sensors with a 2-wire connection is connected. Okay, so let's scroll down. Gotta clean this up a little bit. Okay, well, can't. Okay, so now imagine you have a unit with 8 sensors, 3-wire connection. Well, here's one right there. That's one for, got 8 sensors, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, with your 3-wire connections. Black, red, yellow. Okay, so again, 3-wire connection. Okay, you have your red, black, and yellow. Black is always ground. So red, highlight in red, tap into the positive brake light wire using the T-tap previously mentioned. That's my favorite method. There are other methods. The yellow wire, tap into the positive reverse light wire. So when the red is tapped into the positive brake light wire, that allows the front sensors to work. When the yellow wire is tapped into the positive reverse light wire, that allows the reverse sensors to work. Okay, so again, red, yellow, black. Okay, ignore this part right now for now. Let me scroll down. Okay, so when you have a unit with 8 sensors, 4-wire connector, such as this one. This one had a 4-wire connector. Again, this one has a 3-wire connector. You see black, yellow, red. And again, a 2-wire connector, black and red. So the one that's currently in my vehicle, as I speak, had 4-wire connector. See, red, blue, yellow, black. Black is always ground. Red, you need to tap into the positive reverse light wire. Yellow needs to tap into the positive brake light wire. I put blue or white because my unit, the wire was blue, as previously mentioned. Other units I've seen online, the wire was white. But the color doesn't really matter. It's only where it's connected to. So in my case, again, I had a red, blue, yellow, black. My blue wire had to be tapped into the accessory fuse below the dashboard. So that means we had to use a fuse tap and then connect a red wire to it and run it all the way to the back of the vehicle to connect to my blue wire. And so the red wire tapping into the positive reverse light wire allows the rear sensors to work when the vehicle is placed in reverse. The yellow wire tapped into the positive brake light wire allows the sensors to work when the vehicle is in drive. And the blue wire for me tapped into the accessory fuse below the dashboard, I guess gives it the power this particular unit needed. So they're not all identical, because there are several ways things can get wired up. Like they say, there are several ways to skin a cat. But the unit I took to the professional installer was this one, the Yates sensor 3-wire connection. And what he did, so it had the 3 wires was red, yellow, black, and he connected the red. Well, let me rewind back. He connected the yellow. He tapped it into the positive reverse light wire. And he correctly connected the black to the ground. So that's why the reverse worked. But the reason why the front ones didn't work, instead of getting the red wire and tapping it into the positive brake light wire, he took the red wire, this one right here, and he connected it to the accessory fuse below the dash. And that is why the front sensors did not work. And so, because this place, they didn't seem to be that friendly to me, and I decided not to go back. However, after driving around, talking to people, I finally found someone who knew exactly what I was talking about. And then he said, yes, they did all the hard work. I can wire it up. And so, being that the professional installer had already tapped into the accessory fuse below the dash, I decided to remove this one, which was the one the professional installer installed, and put this one in, because this one is the 4-pin, 4-wire connector, and it needed to be connected to the accessory fuse. And so this guy was able to fix the problem, and I'm living happily ever after in regards to this front and rear sensors. So to sum up, the professional installer did a great job on the physical install. However, there were only 3 wires that needed to be connected. Again, the ground, the black wire is the ground. That's simple. Everyone knows that. And 2 more wires, he got 1 out of 2 correct. And he refused to acknowledge that he could have made a mistake. Impossible from his point of view. The problem was because I purchased a cheap item versus Rostra. He said you should have purchased Rostra and you would not have had this problem. So, sometimes in life, we are wrong. Even though we might think we're right 99.9%. There's always that 1% chance that as good as we are at something, we might be wrong. And so, what I'm probably going to do with this one, I'm going to keep this one, because my plans in the future, when I get better, my shoulder gets stronger, I will install that in an older car that I know I will not have to remove either bumper. I think it'll be a fun project to do. And I don't know, this one, I don't see the point in even keeping it. I think this one was $15. It's just, I can return it. I bought them both. I bought all three of these on Amazon. So it's easy to return. Everything here is there. It's unused. It's opened but unused. And but see, obviously this one I cut the wire, but that's no problem. Um, like I said, I'm going to keep this one. And but you see, I have these two white ones here on my wife's front bumper. It's not a solid color. On each side it's black, and then in the middle it's white. So I told the installer, because I want it to match the background. I think it looks better. And so these two colored ones, white ones here, are in the middle, and then on each end of the front side I have a black one. And I just think it looks better. And you can buy these in, there's so many different colors. I mean, make a rainbow if you want. And so I've seen several videos about how to install these sensors. And one thing that I've noticed, it's not many people are good at holding the camera, because often they're holding the camera and they're working with one hand. And so, and I know my camera work is not the best, but I'm holding my phone with my good arm pretty steady. And I think my explanation, even though this video is kind of long, you can just fast forward through whatever parts make you bored. I'm gonna, this right here, I just typed this up in a Word document, but I'm gonna see if I can copy and paste this into the, let's see, into the description. But basically I'll kind of go over it again. So again, back driver's side of vehicle is where they want this unit mounted. And so on the driver's side, you're going to tap into your brake light, your reverse light. And so again, if it's 4 sensors, 2-wire connection, okay, you have your red and black. Black is always ground. Red is going to tap into the positive reverse light wire. And that's if the sensors are mounted onto the bumper. And then if you have 8 sensors in a 3-wire connection, 3 wires being red, yellow, black, your black again is always ground. Red, you're going to tap into the positive brake light wire. Yellow, tap into the positive reverse light wire. And then it'll work. And so again, see at the bottom there, the mistake the professional did. He took the red wire and tapped into the accessory fuse below the dashboard. Do not do that if it's a 3-wire connection. So now to finalize, if you have 8 sensors with a 4-wire connection, your 4 wires being red, blue, yellow, black. Again, for blue, I have seen one unit, it was white. So again, black is always ground. And red, you tap into the positive reverse light wire. And yellow, tap into the positive brake light wire. And in my case, my wire was blue, but if it's white or another color, you want to tap into the accessory fuse below the dashboard. And you want to get one of those stab fuses, get the correct size. And so that's it. So I hope you found this video helpful. And again, all the videos that I saw on YouTube, they were very, very just shaky. They weren't getting really good angles, and it was kind of hard to comprehend. A lot of people are just not very good at explaining. And not to say that I'm the best, but I've had many people compliment my ability to explain. And so a final view of my little setup here. Over and out.